Hello, everyone. So, a lot of stuff has happened regarding the house. When I went to Wappy on Monday, I had a conversation with Ileen. And that's the reason that this is titled Up Until Now. Because up until now, as of Monday, I had a whole different view. I wanted to tear down the old house and clear off the lot and use that as home base for a ministry that I'm creating. I'm in the process of starting a religion, and I've got all the paperwork done for the religion as well as starting the church. But, don't let me lose you there. It's not an everyday church, not a Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday, going to hell type church. My goal was to have like an outreach mission through the church, not having like any certain deity, not having any faith type core beliefs, like you'll go to hell if you do a sin. None of that. It was based, or it is based on acceptance and love. And it doesn't matter who you are, who you love. We would have naming ceremonies for anybody changing their name for any reason whatsoever. We would have the weddings on any tradition that of your belief, hand fastings, atheistic weddings, whatever. Also, hand fastings. I could do funerals. I wanted to have a place in the back with like a gazebo and like flowers and like a little wedding venue, or to have like a memorial after somebody passes. I also want to have like a little soup kitchen for soups and sandwiches, a food pantry, a clothing pantry, and I want to have a couple of shower stalls. That way, people who are homeless can at least take a shower and get some food and stuff. Or if somebody's water gets turned off because, they had to buy medicine and they can't pay their bill this month, then at least they have a place to go and shower their children or whatever. And venturing out with that, I would also have a few volunteers that would help the elderly, especially the elderly. It could be anyone, but especially the elderly, with getting to doctor's appointments or to go buy groceries, stuff like that. So, my church, my church that I'm starting is called the Rainbow Umbrella Ministries. And hopefully by the beginning of the year, it will be fully up and running. But I have to have a home base. And I wanted to work this rest of this year, and especially over the summer, with tearing down that house, cleaning up that lot, putting in an office building, and at least get like the gazebo and stuff up for like weddings and stuff. Okay. Anyway, I talked to her about this, and she's totally for it, totally supportive of it. But she told me I couldn't have that house, that I need to look elsewhere. With this being said, the fact that I need to look elsewhere, I asked her what the reason for it was. Sorry, gotta get my charger for the computer. Of course, it's gonna end up dying in the middle of this. Anyway, so I asked her what the reason for it was, and she told me that there is too much money tied up into that house. Now, mind you, there is a lot of money tied up into that house because from basically day one of them having that house, starting with my grandparents, my birth certificate grandparents, they would take out loan after loan after loan. You know, a couple weeks before my 18th birthday, when the house was supposed to be turned over to me, Sam went and got a $200,000 loan on that house. Yes, it's always been paid off, but it's always a way to prevent me from getting my house back. Well, during my conversation with her, she offered, get this, to put a down payment on some land, some property for me and the kids. And, I could make the payments, which is fine. I can make the payments. But I don't want her hand in something completely new. Like, if I'm going to put down a down payment on something, it's not going to be from somebody that is part of a family that has tried to do nothing but destroy me my whole freaking life. Okay? When she could just simply add my name to the deed of that house, or I gave her a paper that she could fill out for at the time that she passes, the state would automatically just turn the house back over to me. And I'm not even asking that she take her name off of the deed. She can just simply add my name to it. But she straight up said that it's not about me, that she will, which she won't, but she said she will, put every one of my kids, all 6 of my kids, and all 10 and a half of my grandkids, plus leave room for any other grandkids on the deed to the house. That way, everybody gets like 3% of the land. Okay, I have no problem with my children having that home. That is, and my grandchildren too. My goal for that home, that land, was so that my children have something that they can, say that they will eventually have, something that they can inherit from me. But she's making my house out to where it's something that my children and my grandchildren will inherit from her, when it was not even supposed to be hers in the first place. So she tells me then that I should take my ministry and go elsewhere. Now, we're talking about a little old lady that used to carry a Bible into Walmart and have to preach the good word to anybody and everybody she come across. The whole point of their marriage that wasn't admitted to for so many years was that she was just a co-trucker and co-minister because they were out on the road ministering together. Okay. And she tells me to take my ministry to a bigger town that needs it. Because apparently Wapanaka doesn't need anything. I should go to Tishomingo, Durant, Ardmore, or Ada. So basically, she just doesn't want me there in Wapanaka, which kind of makes me just want to go rent a random house in Wapanaka and just live there anyway. But see where I'm going with this? It's always just something to keep me away from what has always rightfully been mine. And I'm probably sounding like an asshole and, the whole 9 yards. I'm good with that. Because after all the molestation, after the rape, after the verbal abuse, after the physical torture, after starvation, after all the shit that Sam put me through and that family allowed him to do, and some of them encouraging it and covering it up, this random woman marries into the family like, I don't know, 25, 30 years ago, and now has complete power, not only over my rightful house, but is trying to take power over my children, my grandchildren, and the ministry that I am creating. So we're sitting in the middle of Wapanucka by the stop sign after I had just went to her house and dropped off a case of water and a few bags of food. I set it there by her porch because she was not home. So we go to leave and then we see her walking, and I pull up over there. And that in the middle of the town is where this whole conversation happened. Every sentence I tried to make, she disrespectfully cut me off. She would change the subject over to my daughter graduating or the grandbabies getting bigger or something like that whenever I would try to make a valid point on anything, not just the ministry or anything, but she literally cut me off every freaking sentence. And then she raised her voice and literally started yelling at me, telling me how much money she has put into this house. But the thing of it is, from the time I was 16 to a little bit over 18, like honestly, like 19 and a half or so, I was putting money into that house as well. I was working and I was giving up almost all of my check to my grandparents who was supposed to put it into that house. It was either paying off the roof, which was $27 a month, but I was always paying more, or when it needed some plumbing done or, whatever, yard work. She'd have to pay somebody to go and mow the yard. I was paying all that stuff. Now, Ileen is trying to say that she was paying all of that stuff too, but she was paying it directly to the company. But she said to the companies. That tells me that the money that she's referring to is what they had borrowed off of that house, not the product of the house, because there was some owed at the point that my birth certificate grandparents took over from my maternal grandparent because she had got a roof put on the house. And there was that loan. That is a loan that I was paying off to clear up the house so I wouldn't have any payments on the house other than the taxes and then the utilities once I turned 18. They kept taking out new loans. And I'm not talking like, $100, $200 loans. I'm talking like $200,000 loans to use for whatever the fuck they thought they needed it for. But she's trying to tell me that she put all this money into that house, but it didn't go into the house. It went into whatever it was that she was paying back loans on. She said that before she had married Sam, she had a home that was worth like $1 million and another home that was worth a little over $1 million. And on one of them, she had $100,000 to pay off. And on one of them, she had $200,000 to pay off. But right before I turn 18, they get a $200,000 loan using my property. And then I find out that my birth certificate brother, Kadon White, has tried to sell that house on Facebook Marketplace like sometime last year. And apparently she stopped him from doing that or whatever. But you see, that's not It's not just one person in the family that is trying to keep me away from that house. Ileen has all the power over that house. She is the only one on the deed. But the rest of the family is still trying to fuck me over. They're trying to make a profit off of something that has nothing to do with their family. So up until now, I actually used to really think a lot about Ileen. I used to care about her. I used to feel bad because of all the shit the family put her through. I used to feel bad for the abuse that she was living with my birth certificate father. I was always, admiring her for her independence and the way she carried herself and the way she loved to help others. And there is so many great characteristics about Ileen that I would open my door to her and I would leave Sam on the porch. Like there's there was no connection between me and Sam. So whenever they would show up on the truck and come over, like I would pick her up at Walmart and go hang out with her, leave him to rest on the truck. She was always around the kids when they were growing up, um, up until they got a little older, and then not so much for like the last two, maybe three of my kids. And there are so many of the grandkids that she hasn't even met. And, it's just, it's weird. And one of my daughters said that she didn't know how she could change so much. She hasn't changed. This has always been her goal. Maybe I was just a little naive and not seeing it for what it was, thinking that she was also a victim of the family or of Sam or even of life circumstances for that matter. But she's not a freaking victim. Like, I see it clearly now. She's holding that house because she needs to feel the power. She needs to feel like she has something over somebody else. And if that's where she gets her self worth from, then I don't know. I just kind of feel sorry for her. Like, I'm not mad at her. She's been conditioned into the white family for so long. Like, she got there, like, right after I was, like, in the process of me leaving the family is right when she was starting to get into the family. So, she's had all these years that I haven't had with them. And they got to her. They got to her. She was talking about how my birth certificate Aunt Vila was helping to kill my birth certificate father, Sam. How she had to buy the little house and everything so that she could move him out of his sister's home because she would get mad at him and not even wash his underwear, that his underwear had holes in it, that she wasn't feeding him nutritious food, that he was going downhill. I don't know. He had like some kind of cancer or something. Honestly, never cared enough to really find out what his diagnosis was. But anyway, he supposedly had to live in the chicken coop outside when Vila would get mad at him. And, I'm thinking, hey, this is fucking karma. Like, if she's treating him like shit now, well, back before he died, then, this is just payback for what he did to everybody else. So, I mean, yeah, it bothered me because I'm human. And honestly, even after all the fucking abuse and shit that I had went through, if he would have spoken up and told me that he was being abused, I would have helped him. I would have taken him to my house. I would have sent my children that was still at home to their sister's house to keep them away from him. But I would have opened up my house for him until she got back off the truck and could get something set up for him. Which, from a birthday party that they had actually attended, it was kind of like a self-invite kind of thing for them. But they attended a birthday party and for one of the grandkids. And he showed up, and yeah, he looked frail and he, old and sickly, and me working home health and everything, I could tell he was pretty much towards the end of life. But I didn't talk to him that much. And by that much, I mean, the only thing I asked him is if he wanted a soda or a bottle of water because he was sweating, common decency. You want something cold to drink. And then when the plates was being served, I noticed that he wasn't getting up to go to the grill. And Vila wasn't feeding him, even though she was over there getting her plate. And then she walked the other direction to go and talk to some of the other grandkids. So he was literally just left sitting there at the table looking at the grill. And I took him a plate. And I asked him if he needed anything else. And he said, no, thank you. And I said, you're welcome. And I walked away. But had he said anything at that point when it was literally just me and him at that table and everybody else on the other side of the grill at those tables, if he would have told me that he was being abused or that he needed his laundry washed or that she wasn't feeding him, I would have stepped up. I mean, I probably would have filed a few elderly abuse things and, got Vila investigated and like the whole 9 yards because of working home health as many years as I did. I know the system and I know what is elderly abuse and shit. And I loved my clients. And I was at that point in the headset of he was like a client to me. I had removed the whole past. And it was just like I was just meeting him. That was my tone with him. It wasn't, oh, hey, daddy, how you doing kind of thing. It was literally, you're sweating. Do you need water or do you prefer a soda? And here's a plate. Let me know if you want more. It was kind of a clienty kind of thing. Well, nothing was ever said at that party. And she was trying to tell me again about how bad he had been treated and he didn't deserve that in life. I have another opinion on that. But the thing of it is, she was sitting in her wheelchair with a large ass metal rake thingy and screaming at me, telling me I needed to just forget about this house and move my ministry on and, go elsewhere. She put down the down payment on a new place if I could do the payments. But you know what? I'm tired of giving her the power over it. If she wants to do the right thing and add me to that paper or even add my kids to it, it's not really even about me. I want that house because it's my foundation, but because of my foundation, my children have a foundation, my grandchildren have a foundation, and that land rightfully belongs to us. It's the whole moral concept here. She is holding stolen land. Even if it was done within the court system, the house was to go to me when I turned 18. All these extra years of her being able to claim that house and stuff, it wasn't even supposed to be. Like, none of this was supposed to happen. But what got me to the up until now point, I had went out to the refuge when I took my children to the dentist. And while they were there, I ran out to the refuge and took some pictures. The whole place was flooded, basically. But there was this couple down there, older couple, and they were sitting there pretty much up on the road fishing. And we got to talking, and Johnny got brung up about how he was the security guard out there and they knew him. They thought wonders of him. They were telling me stories about him. They knew me as a sense of his stepchild. They didn't know me, like, they hadn't ever seen me. But like I've said, Johnny always just called me his child. And so they knew me as his child. They didn't know my name like they knew his other kids' names. But they knew of me. They knew of my mom. And they were saying how he would always talk about me and my mom, about camping trips or hunting and fishing. And they had actually said that at one time they had bought a medicine pouch that I had made, that he had told them I had made it, and that they still have it, but they didn't have it on them. But that they still had it hanging up at the house. And it was just like all this stuff got me to thinking about the good. And I realized that the good happened out at the refuge. I mean, yeah, I was living in Wappy, and there was a lot of good things that happened there too. But all this bad stuff has literally tainted that land, that home. Like, I believe fully in the energies of the land and the ancestors and all the stuff that makes the land unique and wonderful, and its absorption properties of the negative, and spitting out the good energies and the renewance and like all of that. Like, I feel that, like, deep in my soul, like I always have. But I had went to that house and I took pictures, the pictures that's up on the community tab. And when I left there, I took the food to Ileen, and then I seen Ileen up by the stop sign. After I had visited that house, it didn't feel the same. I mean, at that point, I still wanted it. Like, it's mine. I want it. I picked a couple of flowers that was growing there. They were the same type that was growing there when I was a kid. And this is like generation after generation after generation of those types of flowers that's strongly growing on that land. Like that tells me it's a generational thing there. That property has the generational energies and shit. But then I go over and I talk to Ileen, and she's the one that ruined it. She could easily have said, look, Sam fucked you over. The whites fucked you over. I'm not like them. Here you go. Here's your house. But instead, it's all about the money tied up in it that I've never seen a penny of. Like, whatever they're taking the loans out on, it was never for me. It was never for my kids. And I know that she's just talking shit. But up until now, I wanted to fight for that land. I thought I owed it to my grandmother to fight for what she wanted me to have. But you know what? I don't owe that to my grandmother. The past is the past. The judge wouldn't give me that house until I was 18. Then the whites, as usual, decided to fuck me over with the ultimate fuck me over. And then when I went to the refuge, where I used to go with Johnny all the time, those energies was pure, peaceful, calm, true, honest love of an ancestor, of a generational line that passed down to me. So even though one side is very corrupt, and thank God they're not blood family, thank God for that, but that side has done nothing but fuck me over literally my whole damn life. And now they have their little tentacles in that home as well and on that land. And they have all their energies all over that place. So all of the wonderful memories that I had at that home has been swept away by all this other bombarding, horrific energy that I don't want any part of. So if the house ever gets turned over into my name or my children's names or whatever, then yes, we can gladly accept it and cleanse it fully by tearing down everything and starting new, starting fresh, building up on the love that was in that home when I was a kid. But to delete and get rid of everything that they have had their hands in. And that means completely redoing the land, tearing down that home, putting up something new, moving on and letting go. If the land ever gets returned to us, then, okay, fine, we'll accept it. But up until now, I saw Ileen a different way than she actually is. And now I know she is exactly like the whites, exactly like them. It's like Some of them are dead and gone and living on as her. So I don't want anything to do with Whoopi right now. I don't want anything to do with that house. And I no longer will acknowledge Ileen as being my stepmom. For the longest time, she was just a mom to me. But the Whites are not my family. They have no blood tie to me. The only thing is Sam being on my birth certificate. And I think I'm going to take all this energy of trying to get that house back and turn it into trying to get him off of my birth certificate. That's going to be my goal, is to get him removed from my birth certificate. When he passed away, I was relieved. He was gone. I literally just went to the funeral to make sure it wasn't some fucked up trick that they were trying to play on me. But I now see things in a different way. So this channel is going to stay up. This channel is going to keep going, but I'm going to use it for getting over the trauma that they have caused. I have some worksheets and stuff about trauma-based childhood and adult stuff that I'm going to eventually be adding to it. I mean, it's like a whole folder. It was like a whole book I printed off that has questions and like activities and stuff to get over the trauma. I think I'm going to start working through that. And as I complete each chapter or whatever, I will give an update on what I have realized is a way to overcome that said trauma. And then, of course, I'm going to be adding resources for different types of assaults and, you know, like domestic violence, child abuse, substance abuse, just anything and everything that I know kind of relates to the family. I'm going to add it on this channel. Now, I did reach out to Vila the other day, but it was on Facebook, and I don't think she has Facebook up anymore. So next time I go to Wapi, which I still have to go there because my grandmother is buried there, and so is my mother, and I need to go to the graves and stuff. So I will be going through Wapi, and every time I do, I will stop and go ahead and gather pictures of that place or whatever. But yeah, I'm over it. I'm over giving the white family the power to destroy me. And not only me, it's my kids too. You know, it's just like I'm tired of giving people the power to destroy me. So up until now, they had that power. But from now on, it's not something I'm giving them willingly. I'm not giving them the power to destroy me any longer.